Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are watching this week's edition. End of June 2020 of Something for the Weekend from me and my gang, Martin Lynch and Sons. You may have noticed it's a little bit sunny today because it was over 30 degrees yesterday and it's going to be hotter today. Would you believe 30 degrees and sunshine in London with no rain, you see? It's not foggy over here anymore, as a lot of our American brethren refer to us as foggy London, or the smog. We do really have lots of sunshine. So welcome to you, hope you've all kept well and enjoying the weather and not absolutely sweltering. Sorry about the traffic noise. Noisy living near London, and you get used to it. I mentioned last week that there'd be a little bit of history of myself getting out of Rakel, doing the apprenticeship, and joining what was without question the most famous amateur radio company in the UK at the time, who appear to come out of nowhere and cause a real stir, and that's of course Amateur Radio Exchange, later to become A.R.E. A bit like me really, with Martin Lynch, and then when my sons popped along, Martin Lynch and Son, then Sons, and then ML&S. There seems to be a theme running on here. Anyway, so what I thought I'd do, I'll ring up my old pals, Bernie and Brenda, and so ask them if they've got any photographs or anything they'd like to loan to me, so I could show you the early days of the 70s, 76 odd, when they first started their little shop. Unfortunately I haven't got photographs of, I had several shops actually, but I haven't got one of Hanger Lane. Do you remember them moving to Hanger Lane? So I'm just going to go through the booklet that they very kindly loaned me, and I'm going to pop it round to them this afternoon because I did promise I would, and I've scanned the photographs anyway, with their permission of course. And there's something else that I'd like to show you. When I worked for Bernie and Brenda part-time in the 70s, I'm sure a lot of you remember a product called the FRG-7. This was made by Yaesu using the Barlow-Wadley loop technology, which actually was invented partly by a South African for Rakel, and it was employed in the Rakel RA-17. Hands up who's had one of those. Yes, I've had several, needless to say, and it was an extremely expensive communications receiver, semi-synthesized, and Yaesu many years later thought, wow, that'd be a good idea. Wonder if we can make the same thing, but instead of costing goodness knows how much the Rakel one was, and it was very high quality, I'll admit, and weighed an absolute ton. For those of you who remember the AR 88, it was probably about the same weight, if not heavier. Yes, I had one of those as well, my third receiver after my 1155 and H.R.O. Anyway, so Bernie said to me when I went over there last week, Bernie said to me, Martin, if you get an FRG-7 come in, let me know. He said, because I like those, probably like me, he's got fond memories of it, probably see he made a few shekels selling them, but he used to drop them round to my parents' house where I was living at the time, I think in fives, only because the little shed I used to be in would only take 5 boxed FRG-7s, and he used to get me to fit filters for them, because the SSB filter, for those of you who remember, was quite wide. In fact, it was very wide. So good old A.R.E, or Amateur Radio Exchange in those days, did modifications. We used to model, or they used to modify, I say we, it was without question their company, I was just a mere employee. We used to modify them, put filters in. And Bernie said, if you ever get one, do let me know. Well, I didn't let on at the time, but he's a wily old fox, even in his 90s. And I said later, I've got a surprise for you next week. Well, I have. Because in my works, I've got a rather splendid FRG-7. This is a 1977 vintage. It is in excellent condition. It's not the very first one. The very first one didn't have fine tune. You see that? That's fine tuning, because this was quite coarse. And I'm pleased to say it works extremely well. Even after 33 years, I fired it up myself just to check it, because that really would have been embarrassing, delivering a pre-owned, pre-loved piece of equipment from the Martin Lynch & Sons store to Bernie and Brenda, and that's where that's going this afternoon. So there it is, that's the FRG-7, and I did a little walk around video of that. So that's a little surprise for him. He doesn't know that yet, because I haven't even told him. So let me go to the, his compilation, or Bernie and Brenda's compilation of photographs, and see what you think, because it brings lots of memories back to me. Hopefully it is for you too, with all the their old adverts that they used to run that were quite were very amusing. So here goes. This is the book of photographs that Bernie and Brenda loaned me. Right, this is the very first shot. Hands up those who remember that one. Bernie and Brenda purchased this in 76, I think it was. They just put this temporary signage up. There's some lovely signs there afterwards, but this really was in the early days before they'd actually moved in. And it was in Northfields Avenue in London, West 13. I joined them 77-ish, 78 part-time. And actually they were about 2.5 miles away from my home, where I used to live with my parents. And I went in there one day through that door, and I said to Brenda, rather cheekily, because I was quite a cheeky young boy then, and said, this display here, it really is a bit of a mess. I said, you know, you can't see that. She said, well, you're so good, you go in and tidy it up. And I did. And before I left, I got offered a part-time job. I was still working for A.R.E in those days. So that was the very, very first shop they were in. Lots of happy memories from there. I can see through the windows the shelving and that going up. Bernie did all that himself. He not only was an excellent person in business, he did the lot. Carpentry, you name it. He was in the furniture trade originally in Ealing, I think. And then from this weeny little corner shop, they moved to here. And this was one huge shop, not quite in Ealing, but in Acton, on the Uxbridge Road. Brenda was very, very proud of this too. I remember spending a lot of time putting in a very old-fashioned radio station. And that looked great as you walked into the store. And just look at the size of this showroom. It really was absolutely huge, without question the biggest in the country. And unfortunately these aren't. Yeah, what I'm going to do, I'll get Henry to go through lots of other photographs of those, because I scanned in a load of photographs. As you can see, they're very proud of the partnership there, Bernie and Brenda. G4 AOG, or Any Old Gear, is who affectionately known to his customers. I am still G4 HKS and Hong Kong Special. And Brenda, of course, couldn't get a better call sign than JSXY, could she really? She did go on to get her G4 after that. These are some of the adverts in the early days, in the very, very early days. This is actually 1981. So these are the adverts that were appearing from that shop in the Uxbridge Road. And if you look at the prices, the FT290, £229. Well, I was selling FT81. This is only a 2-litre transportable, remember, multi-mode, 229, and I was selling the FT817 in the 90s for 449. So yeah, £200 more, but that was all mode, all band, SSB, everything. This is quite funny. This is a very, very early picture. Again, Bernie and Brenda had a very large workshop. They took that seriously, as we do. And when I turned the page and saw this, first of all, I thought, he looks familiar. That's my brother. Hello, there's me, because I had a beard in those days, for those of you who remember me. And I thought, who's that? I remember who that is. That's Bernie. This was a very, very early photograph before the staff had moved over from Ealing to Uxbridge Road. So Bernie put on a coat. I know it's him because I can tell he had black hair those days, as I did. And my brother Gary, who's not a radio amateur, that's him. Oh, FRG-7, there you go, £185 with a free Heliscan aerial for £15. And there's the famous FT480 780s. And again, Bernie and Brenda used to import these, and we used to put in the 77s version with 1.6 meg repeater shift. Various bits of trio Kenwood as it was in those days, and a very early ICOM 720. That was a lot of money, £800 in the early 80s. It was very small. It was ICOM's second solid state all band transceiver, FT208 708s. So here you go, here's some photographs of us all. I think we showed that one last week with, that's Valerie. Valerie's a lovely lady. After Bernie and Brenda retired for the game, Valerie joined me and was my very first employee, G4WIS. This is Mike Rogers. I'm sorry, Mike, I think it's Jewu. I can't remember your call sign. He moved to America. Don't know what Bernie and Brenda are doing there. I mean, we did have fun at the shows. This is probably Danby Halls, I should imagine. Mike Springs was a very, very clever engineer. Went to live in the States, but he was the one that used to modify a lot of the kit that Bernie and Brenda used to import. They really were mavericks in their day, and smash price cartels and everything else. And you can see all the Yaesu and everything else in the background. It's Brenda looking extremely happy. I don't know who this young yob is. Oh, that's me. That's at the shop at Hanger Lane, the small shop we had, and I was brought back into the I joined the business again after leaving, and started all the amateur radio up again. That was great fun. There's Chris Parnell, JVDQ, still a good friend of mine, still lives in Northfields Avenue in Ealing. One of the engineers. I had 3 engineers down in the basement actually. And there we all are again, with some part-time stuff. That's Mike's wife. I can't remember who that is, apologies. I know him very well. I think it's John, I'm sorry if you're looking. Bernie and Brenda, look at those glasses. They were very trendy in those days. My dad had a pair of them because they were similar age. Bernie was about 4 years older than my father. And that's Roger. He was such a lovely chap. Unfortunately, he died of a heart attack pretty young. I think he was in his late 40s. Real shame, real character, and used to help us out at the shows. So again, this is probably Leicester, Granby Halls, and he's long gone. And there's Bernie looking very dapper. Look at that, eh? Goodness me. With a load of Drake kit there. Now, not his shack bar, it's W2WO, but they used to get about all over the place. But he was very, very keen radio amateur. I hope he's going to like his FRG-7, which incidentally is there. I'm using it to prop the book up. Oh, there's some photographs falling out. I'll do that in a moment. Right, his certificates, and Brenda's certificate, in fact, passing their exams. More advertising, low electronics, and Bernie, and amateur radio exchange. Bernie and Brenda used to have a go at each other because Bernie and Brenda used to bring Kenwood in. Trio Kenwood in, and Lowe's didn't like it, and that's another story in itself. But you could only buy Trio Kenwood from Derbyshire. You could only get it from them. You could buy Yaesu and ICOM from all the dealers, but Lowe's Bill, unfortunately he passed away a few years ago. He would only keep it to himself. Bernie and Brenda went to Japan, and when they returned, that changed, but we won't go into that. More adverts. They opened another shop in Newton Le Willows, and then these little things started. Are you moving to Earlstown, Bernie? Only if you stay in London, Brenda. There's all this went on for many, many years, and I'm sure you remember it. So it goes on, lots of adverts. There's Brenda, as you can see, sitting on a freshly imported load of Kenwood R1000s. And she's very proud to do that because, of course, you couldn't buy Trio Kenwood from anybody except Bill Lowe. But there you go, we had them. Big advert announcing we'll be at Leicester Show. I was with them in these days. That's 1985. I was definitely with them in those days. And these photographs I think you'll see anyway, but this just shows you how much investment and the money they put into the business. I hope you get an idea of how big, my goodness me, it's noisy, isn't it? How big that shop was, and that is the workshop. I mean, look at all the components and everything. You had to be a giraffe to get up here, mind you, but many, many years I stood at that counter as everybody came in the door here, and I think we extended it because it wasn't big enough, so this, I think, ended up coming out here. There's Brenda, look at that. With a stack of ICOM Yaesu, that's an early FT101. Yes, I remember buying my 10101 from Bernie. In fact, all the money I used to earn from them, because I was living at home with Mum and Dad, he used to have it all back. He did do me a good deal, though, good old Bernie, but he used to give everybody a good deal. And Brenda was showing off some of the display of the equipment at the Telford rally. There's another big picture of the shop. And I'll just very quickly go on about this. Lowe's always used to bang on, it was Trio. Don't buy Kenwood. If it's Kenwood, it's not Trio, and it's not right, and all the rest of it. Well, of course, it ended up being Kenwood, as you know. And Bernie had great delights in winding them up all about that. So we're getting later on in the years now, in 85, slightly later, 757s. There's 290, gone up with 299, but with a Mutec board. Again, Bernie and Brenda liaised with Mutec, Chris with Mutec in Holsworthy in Devon, and we got them to design a front end board for the 290. Guess who sold more 290s than anybody else? We did, without question. That's it. There it is, advanced information. This is Lowe's announcing that it's no longer going to be called Trio anymore. It's going to be called Kenwood. You can imagine what Bernie did to that. I won't go on about that. So that's it from this side. So I hope you enjoyed that, and thank you very, very much, Bernie and Brenda, for giving me the opportunity to start working with you, and in fact continuing my trade all these years later. So yeah, 43, 44 years later. Last thing, when I was at Bernie's, he said, "Oh, Martin," he said, "look," he said, "I've got one of these." And I said, "Oh yes, the Sony ICF-7600D. He said, "Yeah," he said, "look, I really can't use it anymore. It's too small and fiddly for me." He said, "Sell it, lad, and give me whatever you get for it, you know, whatever." So it's very worn, because I think I was selling these with him, I don't know how many years ago. It was absolutely donkey's years ago. So it was in the early 80s at the very latest. It's very worn, but this belonged to Bernie, G4AOG and Brenda. So I'll sell it for him, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to raffle it for him. And I'm going to raffle it for the Alzheimer's, one of the Alzheimer's charities. And I will put it on our website, and if you'd like to bid, all the proceeds will go to the Alzheimer's charity, 100% of it, and I'll still slip Bernie a few quid because he likes a bit of cash. He probably doesn't now, actually. I have to do a bank transfer because COVID and all that sort of stuff. So there it is, ICF-7600. I've no idea whether it works. It probably doesn't, but it is a bit of history. Hell, I might even keep it myself. But no, let's raise some money for Alzheimer's, which my mum unfortunately succumbed to a few years ago, and that was bad. So that's it. Right, enough of the doom and gloom. Products, first of all, click and collect is working great, thank you ever so much. No problems with busloads of you all turning up at the same time. Haven't had any fights at the door, he's been there too long, none of that. You're all being really lovely. We really do miss you, but I tell you, I can't wait till the shop properly opens and all of us get back to some normality. The roads are getting a lot busier, as you can hear. A lot more traffic on the roads. A couple more of my lads went into the store today, and the first thing I see pop up is, my goodness me, you wouldn't believe that there's any lockdown left. But do be careful out there, because a lot of people haven't driven 3 or 4 months. So it's still, it's getting a lot better in the UK, but it's still pretty bad. We all do have to be very careful. So thank you for visiting the store. You can of course ring up, and our mail order is going full tilt. So you don't need to make the journey if you don't feel safe or you don't want to get stuck in the traffic. Just look at a website, press that button and order it. Or ring the guys up. They're all there. We've never gone away, obviously. We're all there and we'd be delighted to serve you. SPE came and went, whoosh, all gone. ACOM's turning up next week. I'm pleased, I think it's next week, middle to the end of next week. So if you've been waiting for the ACOM 1000, the 1200, the 700, the 1010s, we're going to have tons of them. So if you're still looking at amplifiers, please look at the ACOM range on our web. Tony has done something for the weekend goodies for you to have a look at and to consider purchasing on the mail out that will be going out to you Friday around midday. IC-7300s are back in stock. FT991s, my God, they took a battering. I think all of you suddenly started realising what a really good radio Yaesu bought out. It's only a couple of years old, and they are. Is this? I hope it's recording, yeah. Is that blue button on? I just noticed, I thought I might be talking to myself. I'll have to do it all again. So 991As, we're out, but there's a load coming in next week. I think they're sold, and then there's another load coming in, but they really are running out of components. I knew this would happen. And the delays after that are serious, which is a real pain, but we'll find something else to flog. Trio Kenwood, unfortunately, sorry, Kenwood, I'm still in amateur radio exchange mode. JVC Kenwood, unfortunately had to close doors to the factories for 4 odd weeks plus. That meant everything that was coming in last month didn't come in, and then there's a roll on. We even had the Americans, good morning, afternoon or whatever, to my lovely US watchers and indeed customers. Even they were ringing us and emailing us desperate for TS890s, 590s, etc. The 480s are all finished, TS2000s are finished. Yes, they are working on something, but I can't tell you what, and that's going to be a while away. But not to replace the 890 or 590. We just can't get enough of them, and to be called by America to supply them, that just shows you how bad everywhere ran out. Yaesu I've discussed, ICOM I've discussed, 7300s, 9700s, 705, not long now. This is going out end of June, it's only another month away. Spoke to one of my customers, not yesterday, the day before, so it was Tuesday. He's actually got one because he lives in Japan, and he was waxing. I said, send it over to me, let me borrow it for a week, but no, he doesn't want to let go of his baby. He said his first impressions are it's heavy, it's extremely well made, but it is a heavy lump. Certainly if you put a bigger battery pack on the back, which no doubt is going to be available, it will be heavy, but it's really a real tough piece of kit, and he loves it to pieces. So, and he didn't bleat on about 4 meters, and neither am I. Don't think they've even got 4 in Japan, have they? So that's it. All the best. Hope you've enjoyed it. Got a little special for you next week as well, a bit bizarre, but I hope you like that. Put the old thumbs up and subscribe, because I meant to say that, I haven't said that before at all, but if you like it, you like it. If you don't bother watching it. But let me know if there's anything you want me to fiddle about and adjust to make it better for you. Thank you very much. Until next time, all the best and keep safe. And Bernie and Brenda, if you are watching, I hope you've enjoyed it, and thank you very, very much for your smiles and your encouragement. Bye-bye. I'm going to press a button now. Ready? Watch? Just like that.